Hey everybody, it's Daniel here from InfoRest. Hope you're all doing well. So let's talk about the trucking employment numbers, right? I was looking at that recently, and last month we got the trucking employment index basically dropped really sharply when you look at it relative to 2000, 2008. And when you see this sharp drop, right? Not only just in 2000, 2008, we also saw that during 2020. 2000, 2008, and 2020 happen to be all recessionary areas, recessionary environment. And we're starting to see this drop, this sharp drop in trucking employment. So this matters a lot because when you look at the heart, the bread and butter, the blood, the lifeblood, the bloodline of the economy, trucking is part of that and is a big part of that because without trucking you can't get certain items shipped to one another. You can't get things done, because you do need trucks to ship whatever it may be. It could be goods, it could be oil, it could be anything that businesses need. It could be, for example, let's say Amazon. When you get your products, you order online from an online e-commerce site like Amazon. Again, you rely on UPS and maybe other trucking services, right? Whenever you're shipping goods. So it's important because it tells you how the demand is playing out in the economy. Is the demand doing well? Is it not? And it's very tied with the economy because if the demand is starting to drop heavily and rapidly, then there's less need of having more employees in the trucking industries. There's less need of having trucks sitting there, and also these trucks that are sitting there doing nothing. It's a major expense for trucking companies because of the interest or the payments that they may have on those trucks. So when you see the employment component fall off a cliff in the trucking industry, it does ring a lot of alarm bells that, hey, we're starting to see that the industry is under a lot of pain, and we're starting to see the economy, the demand side, the consumers are not ordering as much as they were before, right? And when you look at all of this, it makes sense because as interest rates continue to be high up, as bond yields continue to be elevated, as inflation is still there, when you look at grocery items and shelter component, it's still high up there. It creates a lot of pain for the consumer, so that means that there's less likely of consumers going out and purchasing some goods or items. In fact, they will put a lot of that money into maybe essential items that they need, right? Now, when we backtrack and look at during COVID time, there was this huge inflow of money that was pumped into the economy. The Federal Reserve came out and pumped a lot of money, did QE, cut interest rates. The government gave out stimulus money, and we were locked down. And guess what? We were ordering things online. Thus, that's why you hear about trucking companies out there go out and really invest heavily during that time, because there were supply shortages, because there were not many people coming to work, prices were going up, people were getting money, and yes, these companies need to go out there and maybe hire a bunch of people, order more fleets, more trucks out there, just to fill that demand. And what happens is when you're buying these trucks, right, it's not just, hey, let me buy it and I can easily get rid of these trucks, right? You have interest payments on them, you've got loans on them, right? And especially if you expected that this demand was going to sustain for a long time and you over-levered, you over-hired, just like we saw during the tech, right? The tech companies out there, and I mentioned this in the previous video, right? tech companies were the first one to go out there and lay off workers because they overhired. And I said you will see this transition into other industries as well, and you're seeing that in the trucking industry, right? The trucking industry is, you're starting to see them lay off a lot of workers because some of them took on more loans than expected, some of them hired more than expected, and most importantly, at the same time, if they expected this demand, now you're getting the pain, the higher interest rates, and you're getting the demand crunch that is currently happening, right? If you don't believe me, look at GDI, gross domestic income. Gross domestic income for 2 quarters is negative. That's recessionary. GDP is yet to come negative as well for 2 quarters, right? GDP and GDI tends to be correlated with each other, but GDI, right, the income side of things with higher costs and everything, of course, that's going to affect consumers. And consumers makes up 2/3 of GDP, makes up 2/3 of the economy, and trucking is heavily linked to the consumer demand, the demand that is out there, right? If there is no consumers out there buying, then and ordering things, then there's less need of having more trucks or hiring truckers to fill that demand. So we're starting to see that. We're starting to see that sharp decline, which basically hints to you that, hey, this is recessionary. We're starting to see the signs, and not only just simple signs, we're talking about sharp red flag signs here, which tells us that, hey, something around the corner, I don't know what it is, maybe it's a month, maybe it's 2 months, maybe 6 months from now, something may show up in the economy, something may happen, and things may get worse off, right? Especially because, like I said before in my previous videos, this is just the beginning. We started with tech, went on to the trucking industry. You'll hear more of this in the coming months from other industries, from similar industries, from the same industries that I'm talking about, where this exacerbates even further, right? And also, we heard about the news about Yellow, right? Yellow bankruptcy, the filing that they had. Basically, it's a trucking giant company, right? Giant trucking company, basically shutting down and filing for bankruptcy. They had about 30,000 employees, and this big giant trucking industry, if they're unable to withstand the higher interest costs, the higher interest payments, right? The demand crunch, obviously you can expect the other smaller trucking companies to be affected, right? What's happening here is really you're getting a basically, I like to call it mean reversion, right? Everything that went wild during 2021, right? 2020, 2021, and now kind of a peak in 2022, you're seeing it revert back to pre-COVID levels, right? We're starting to see that the demand is moving back to pre-COVID levels, and you can expect that a lot of, industries that did, over leverage, you can expect that they will also feel the pain, the pinch, and their business and demand to go back to pre-COVID levels. And maybe if they took on too much debt and they over levered, or they took too much of a big bet in that this demand will be sustained for a long time, you can expect even some of them to shut their businesses, right? So very good example of, just some of the indicators out there. The trucking employment index sharply dropping. There's much more indicators out there that I can talk about on this video, but we'll leave it for another video. Let me know what you guys think. Leave a comment below, subscribe, hit the like button, bell icon to be notified on the next video, and I'll see you guys around. Cheers and bye.